Innovation, security, programming, technology, development.
Let's begin.
DevSecOps, your cybersecurity in technology podcast.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here one more time. This is Cássio Pereira talking here. Today, we have a very nice guest that will be discussing about runtime application security or runtime application protection, whatever you feel comfortable for you. Just before introducing our guest, it's worth to mention that this is the fifth season already. We have more than 150 episodes. So please go back to the first, second, third, fourth season. You have a lot of nice content there. Portuguese, English, you can find a lot of things. Also mention that DevSecOps Podcast has the partnership with Nova 8 and Checkmarks. So feel free to reach out to our the website. Also on the YouTube description video, you have all the links here. Checkmarks is one of the leaders in code scanning. We also have partnership with Gold Security if you are looking for application security services, and Digital Oak that they have a full portfolio of AppSec solutions that help you to create secure software, I would say. Okay, so guys, directly to the episode today, directly to the context of today, runtime application security or protection. I think it's the first episode that we had or we have regarding this topic, and for this we have we have two nice guests here, Aidan and Pavel. Guys, feel free. First, thank you for your time. It's a pleasure to have you here. Feel free to introduce yourselves, talk about you, where you come from, where you're going from, and then we start the discussion from there. Once again, thank you for your time.
Amazing. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'm Idan Bartura. I'm one of the founders and the head of R&D for Kodem Security.
I'm Pavel Furman, the CTO of Kodem. 15 years in the security space. I've been in different security areas, and glad to be here.
Awesome, guys. Where are you based, if I may ask?
So we're both based out of Tel Aviv currently.
Okay.
We have several people working most of the development here, and also like marketing and sales based out of the US.
Okay, that's nice. So Israel and US. Yeah, we had some guests already from Israel, Tel Aviv as well. Guys from US. We have guys from everywhere. Okay, so thank you for joining again, and Ethan and Pavel. And it's very nice to have the founders, CTO, this kind of minds here to share the knowledge with our audience. Because in the end of the day, our goal is to rise the care or awareness regarding protecting our softwares, right? Because our lives depends on them for payments, for cars, for whatever, and it's the whole idea. So one thing that I would start maybe asking you, why we should care about runtime application security or protection if we have a lot of code scannings, SCA, everything, threat modeling, a lot of things that we can do during the development to avoid threats, to avoid problems. Why we should care about runtime application security? I mean, we have more memory consumption, all these problems on runtime environments. So why we should care about this? I would say, is it that so important to monitor our applications at runtime?
Like and be more precise. It's also protect. It's not only protection but also understanding the context from the runtime, right? It's combining these things together. The reason is there's a few reasons. Okay, first of all, in the code scanning and in the process of doing this SCA and code scanning, as you mentioned, there's a problem today of a lot of noise, right? So these are the effectiveness of code scanning and SCA today is plagued with a lot of false positive, a lot of noise. And we come, first of all, to have that runtime presence to help you understand how the application is behaving in order to come and reduce that noise. To say, hey, you know what, these issues are not relevant for you because your application is not loading this piece of software, or your application for this specific service is not exposed to user input, so it's less of a severe issue for you. And then on top of that, we add some, because we already understand how the application behaves, we can understand this better to figure out if there's a specific threat right now because we sense that the application is behaving differently, if it's loading something that it shouldn't load, if it's unauthorized software that's being run or stuff like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome. Pavel, want to add something?
yeah, and the main thing is that you want to improve your security posture, right? But you want to do that in the most efficient way. And you don't have all the resources in order to fix all of the vulnerabilities. So you have to know where you need to put the focus on. And that's the main key. You need to understand the most critical issues that you have on your environment and fix those first.
Okay, awesome point. And I would say that for our audience is one of the most confusions. I would say that also I feel on the field is people concerned about, okay, I have 1,000 vulnerabilities from my SaaS solution. I have another 1,000 of components that they have libraries, that they have libraries, that they have libraries, a lot of CVEs, and so on and so forth. What should I do? And as you were saying, with a runtime solution, it's easy. I mean, easier for the runtime solution itself to kind of track, like, okay, you have a SQL injection here on this URL, for example, or you have a CV on this component, but this URL is it's on the system, but it's not being used by the runtime. Let's say nobody's actually posting, getting information there. Also, this component is not being loaded into the memory. So this is kind of as I think Pavel mentioned, like a focus. Okay, this threat might be there, but it's not actionable, right? I can look to this after, but let's focus on something that it's kind, as Eden mentioned, what is the real threat, what it's already being used today for the application. Okay, that's very nice. Maybe another question is, what do you think about WAF? It makes sense that you guys compete with directly web application firewalls, or no? I should have a WAF on top of my application protection plus the runtime, or the question makes sense at all? Just I would
Yeah,
say that
yeah,
it's
yeah.
some
And I'm sure
confusion. Right?
Papa will have something to add. But the way we see it is with WAF today, and WAF is becoming a necessity also because of compliance and also because the protection it provides. But the problem with WAF also is that you're sometimes blocking and basically you're blocking issues that might again not pose a real threat for you, because we are able to understand exactly how the if okay, I'll put it this way: WAF
Mhm.
is sitting on the perimeter, right? So you're looking at the input directly, and then you're saying, hey, I'm going to block this or allow this. But if you understand exactly what's going on inside the application, then you can understand for a specific input if it's going to actually pose a threat or not, even if it's possibility that it's not that a normal WAF would block. But because you understand how it's impacting you, you can understand that you can allow certain inputs to go in because they don't actually pose a threat, and then you're making your WAF much more effective. Okay, I
Mhm.
hope I got the message right correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and adding on top of that is all of us are afraid from 0 days, right? So the main issue with WAFs is that you need to add the rules for the 0 day, but you have some time frame that you need to like the vendor need to add those rules in order to be protected, right? But if you have some more east-west protection and being able to monitor your internal services and not just the perimeter, you are able, for example, detect an SQL injection that is happening inside one of your internal services and being able to catch that even when the WAF is still haven't been able to identify the new attacks that are coming right now. So this is very, very important in that aspect as well.
Okay, I get it. I would add also this point, like, since the WAF is set on the perimeter, if I have internal communication that is like going directly to a service or something like this, of course the WAF is already bypassed by architecture, right? I don't have this monitor there, and as Eden mentioned, it's very important to know the behavior of the application. So with the runtime protection, which is seated together with the application, I would say that there is the best, or maybe the one way of knowing the real behavior of the application, right? Where the requests are coming from, or this kind of things. Okay, good point as well.
Yeah, and
Go
sharing
on, go on.
to your idea about combination, combination of WAF with runtime application security testing. So you are able to combine that by identifying the internal threat, and then you can send a command to the WAF to drop the connection, and you're being able to stop additional attack attempts, and of course the attack that is being happening at the moment.
Okay. Now I want to bring the discussion maybe to kind of a more architecture level. And I suffered already from the past by trying to implement a WAF for 6 months. Didn't work. I left the company. Hopefully they managed already after a few years, but it was a huge problem. But anyway, my point here is when we're talking about the runtime application protection, testing, whatever, I assume that you have some kind of agent, some kind of monitoring together with the pod or together with the web server, something like this. And when you talk about, for example, WAF or SAST or other kind of tools, they are kind of around the application, not exactly with the application on the server and this kind of things. This makes the deployment, I would say, or the whole architecture kind of more complicated, right? Okay, I have many pods on Kubernetes, so each specific pod, I need an agent. When I talk about SAST, I just need to scan the code base or the SCA or even with a WAF, for example, just, I don't know, mirror my domain, my request there. So what you guys would bring to the discussion, like it's worth to have this more effort on the architecture side to implement, to install runtime monitoring in exchange of, okay, just put, as I said, right, just put a WAF here or things there. I know it's more work. I know it's a bit more tricky. And why I'm bringing this? Because I know that developers, DevOps, they are trying to avoid more things that are not part of their day, right? And when we come with security things, they would say, oh, one more agent, more memory consumption, more things to take care. If the application breaks, it might be this. They will blame everything, right? So what you guys say, like, no, it's easy to do, it's seamless to do. How you bring this question?
So it's a great question, and it's good that you raised it. We put a lot of thought from the beginning on how to do this without impacting the application, how not interfering with performance too much. So and the way it works is basically today we're utilizing several technologies. One is eBPF. We're also doing memory analysis. These technologies enable us to not be part of the application. So we're not instrumenting, we're not injecting anything to the application itself. We're installed as you can call it, a sensor on the cluster of the application, not as part of the application, but as a different deployment. Usually we use a daemon set for Kubernetes. For other deployment types, it's a little different. But the way it works is it's a 5-minute installation. We just deploy on the cluster, and then we understand how the application behaves from tracking either internal events that we have visibility to, or looking at memory of the application, but in no way do we ever intervene with application. And also we're doing this in a way which is very, very lean in terms of performance. We today are able to do this with less than 0.1% of performance impact because we're not part of the application, right? Because we're not, and we can control exactly what goes in and which events we listen to. Then we're able to apply advanced filtering and all sorts of mechanisms to reduce this performance impact to a minimum. And also eBPF built in is very, very lean. So we're able to, obviously there's going to be an installation, but it's very easy, 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes, and you start seeing results. And again, not interfering with the application in any way.
Yeah, and there is also always come the question, like whether you want to invest a bit more, but what do you get in reward, right? So in terms of value, it enables you to focus on the right things. You can eliminate the noise entirely. You can eliminate the frustration that you have when you are find out that it's actually you have some issue, but it's not true anymore. So it's the ratio between the amount of effort that you need to put into it and the amount of value that you get is very high. So in this case, it's worth doing that.
DevSecOps.
That's nice. That's nice. And now moving forward on the flow of my imagination here, I assume that when we talk about runtime protection, I assume that we block something, right? Because I need to protect. But when I talk about runtime testing, maybe you are just intercepting requests, for example, to understand if that request might be malicious, monitoring that what's happening, and sending back somewhere as an output. Or also testing kind of proactive, I would say more or less like a dust, like scanning the application and so on. Do you guys position yourselves on the three scenarios? One, two, fourth one? How does it work?
So, if you're looking like on the landscape, we're covering several use cases. So we're covering the use case of the ability to auto triage your issues, to do the testing, understanding where do you have the issues, what is the most critical to you to fix at the beginning, and on top of that, create a complete remediation storyline in order to remediate those issues on your environment and your code base. The second thing is, how do you see the application, identify security flaws, and do hardening actions on top of it. If you are, for example, have some bad practices on your environment, or for example, using secrets on places that you don't need to use, how do you fix this at the first place before someone is going to utilize that and create a harm to your organization? And the third thing is the ability to detect a threat in real time, right? And being able to prevent that from being exploited on your environment. So this is also the use case that we're covering, and we're covering that by the main thing is that all of that is based on the visibility that you have, and you can build on top of the visibility all of those capabilities. So if you provide the sensoring capabilities and you are able to see for every service what is really happening, you can build all of those capabilities on top of that, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Okay, I get it. I ask it this because I imagine some scenarios as well, where the teams want to, like, we are building a product that's perfect, but before I go to production, before I release this, I want to make sure that I am safe. And I would imagine, like, for example, I can run a dust, for example, to actively scan the application, to have some landscape overview about my vulnerabilities or problems that I might have that I want to fix before, right? But once I go to production, then I would have this runtime protection that, okay, I make sure that whatever is happening there, I know. But before, during product phase, I would say, maybe I don't have the whole visibility of threats that I would have in production environment, right? If I'm not running pen testing on a staging environment or this kind of things. So you think the question is, you believe that a dust, a pen testing, or this kind of things, they are complementary to runtime protection? How you understand the point, right? I want to make sure that I tested everything before I release, right?
I think that one of the things that is nice about this is that you don't have to run it only on production. You can run this on staging as well, and then you can test the application behavior before it's actually promoted to production.
Mm-hmm.
But also because we are looking and we're talking about runtime a lot, but what we also try to do is propagate or correlate the findings that we get from runtime to the code side, and then
Mm-hmm.
we can understand, and if you put in a new change in, because you know how the application behaves, you can discern certain ways that of the behavior on the change that you're currently entering, even though it's still in the code level. Take the value that you bring from the application behavior to that, and then understand if you put in or you're using a new library, you know the behavior, and how the behavior is going to be, and understand from the application behavior on the risks that you put in on the new code that you're about to enter. And then again, you can also test it in QA environments and testing environments and staging environments before it's pushed to production.
Okay. I'm asking like this because I'm imagining some kind of blind spot. For example, I don't know, I have an e-commerce application where the person search for products, add to the basket, go to payment, right? But I can go to the product details, or I can just hit the add to basket and purchase. And let's imagine that the product details has a vulnerability that I didn't test in staging or whatever. But in production, my real users, they will go to the product details because they want to see more information about the product, right? And there I have a threat that your runtime probably will protect me, will alert me, whatever. But as an AppSec or even as a developer, I would love to catch this before, because if it's in production, then I have risk. But if it's on the product development side, I still manageable, right? I don't have the risk, I don't have the possible damage and so on. This is the blind spots that that I'm trying to catch here. As you said, if you are monitoring, then but if you are monitoring is one thing, but if nobody's go to the product details, then you will not be able to see it. It's not a problem of the solution, it's the design. That's why I'm bringing this DAST approach, maybe even IAST approach. IAST as well, but if nobody clicks there, nobody will catch this problem still, right? So that's the point of how we actively or proactively could make sure that we're maybe not catching the problems. Not all tools will catch everything, but okay, I hit this button, I go to this scenario, I didn't find anything, or I found a problem. That's my
Yes.
perspective here.
Yeah, so referring to what you said, of course, you would like the main goal is to identify the issues as soon as possible, right? If you are identifying them, like even at the beginning during coding, you have more time to fix them and eventually prevent from the risk being entered to production. So basically, you would like different kind of controls across your software development lifecycle, right? So you would like to scan your PRs, you would like to do testing, as you said, you would like to do monitoring in runtime to pretend to prevent threats and stuff like that. So, to refer to what you said, what we do two things. One is that all of the monitoring is continuous. So you're correct in the sense that whenever something new happens, we're reporting that immediately. And whether it's a threat or something new that we identify, we report that immediately and you can take an action. The second thing is that we take all of the runtime context that we have and propagate it to development stages. So what do I mean by that? We take all of this and then apply that to the code that you have and and combine that with static analysis in order to understand how your code would behave with the new changes. So with the runtime that we already know and with your new changes in order to cover those issues. So of course, on those cases, you won't be able to tell for sure that it's going to happen, right? Because you only can do that in runtime when it's actually happening, but you would be able to say that the likelihood of this happening is much more higher than just looking on some arbitrary code that you have. So that's basically the approach.
Okay, this is the attention sign, because once we had some comment from our audience that someone got, because they were driving and they got lost because they were too entertained on the episode and so on, that they got lost, and they were, I think, in New York or something. You got lost on the traffic jam in this kind of cities. It's terrible, right? So if you were lost, stop now, check where you are, come back to your track, and keep listening. Yeah. Okay, guys. One more point on our flow here. It's regarding alerts, maybe vulnerability management, and those kind of things, right? I mean, as an AppSec engineer, for me, I want to be alerted. I want to know what is happening. This is one thing, right? For production monitoring, they want to see everything. But for developers, they don't want to see everything. They don't need to, right? They need to say, okay, I need to fix something in the code. Give me that. If not, I really don't care, I would say. And how do you see a nice flow, or you can talk about the product as well, how it is working. If you have an alert, if you have a finding, how does it work? Can I send a ticket to Jira? Can I send a message to Slack? Again, I don't want to message everything to Slack to the developers. I want to, okay, you have a code, this is a line to fix or something like this, or create an issue on GitHub, whatever. How you guys approach
Yeah.
this?
So right. So first of all, the real beauty of it with Kodem is that we first of all we're only going to alert the developer if the issue is relevant, right? So instead of getting 100 alerts, they're going to get like a fraction of that because we only want to the developers to actually handle stuff that's relevant. So remove all this friction of hey come deal with this, and then the developer comes back and say hey we're not even using this. Why are you bothering with this fee? So first of all, we're taking all that load off. Then, because we understand what's happening in the code and we connect that, we can show the developer exactly where the issue is coming from in the code with the exact line or location of what you need to go fix. If it's a dependency import that you need to change, say, hey, this is the line where you're doing that import. This is where you need to change. If it's a base image fix or something in the Docker file, we'll tell you the exact line where you need to go change it. We also support integrating with Jira or other ticketing systems. So the developer can only it can if they want, if the organization works that way, they can use the platform. If they only want to use Jira and say hey I don't want to mess with this, we can just work with the ticketing system, and they're only going to see tickets there with the exact description. um, and another thing really neat that we're doing is we enable the developer to work with specific scopes. So when they log into the platform, they can see only the code repositories that they're in charge of and they're interested in. And then they
Hmm.
apply this filter, which is permanent for their specific user. And then they only see the repositories that they handle and they care about. They don't have to see alerts on anything else because they don't care about that. So we are keeping developers in our mindset, right? Letting them first of all work comfortably on only things that matter, and then we try to adapt to the way that it's comfortable for them to work.
We also develop every feature that we develop it in API first mindset. So everything is customizable, and if there is an organization that want to customize their workflows and build something that is not directly like on the set of integrations that we have, everything is API-able, and you can trigger all of the actions, get all of the information, and customize it to your needs.
Okay, that's cool. One more thing that comes to my mind, and this I would say it's one of my dreams, but will never happen. It's like the best way is like we don't need to go to the doctor because we are all healthy, right? We eat good, we do exercise. It would be the same with software development, right? If they don't create vulnerabilities, we don't need runtime protection, we don't need SCA, we don't need nothing, right? But it's good to have them as a double check. So the point here is like, do you guys see your product or solution as also a kind of an educational? And why what I mean, you are alerting, you need to fix this. This is awesome, you are protecting the company, protecting the asset. This is one thing. But do you see also as a benefit for the developers, like, okay, you fix this, but how we make sure that you don't do this again? Like, maybe I worked already a few years with SAST, SCA, and so on. And SCA is kind of tricky, but SAST is like, okay, you have a SQL injection here. Here's how you fix it. And by doing this one, two, three times, it's kind of automatic that, okay, I need to validate parameters. So I stop creating non-validated parameters, right? Kind of in place there. But do you see also your approach with an educational path laws, like, guys, fix this but stop creating these problems, right?
Yeah. So the way we see it is that when we scan the code, we're able to explain the exploitation story. So this is something that should help the developer understand that if he's going to write it this way, it's going to have some impact on the system, right? So we're explaining what is the problem with the current code, how you should fix it, and why is it fixing it. So this is very important, and it's something that is that it comes as part of PR scans that we're doing, and also IDE plugin that we plan to add very soon to the product. But I would like to say, I don't want to break your dream, but we need to understand that from a theoretical perspective, it's not really possible to detect everything. So we need to make sure that we are doing the best that we can in order to improve the security posture as much as we can. But I totally agree with you that the educational aspect is very important, and the way we tackle that is that we want that all of the findings that we have will be fully explainable, and we have proofs for every issue that we find, and any evidence that will help the developer and also the AppSec engineer to understand why there is a real issue here and how you should avoid that in the first place.
Yeah, I think previous episode or 2 episodes ago, we recorded with guys from Mob AI. They have they have and basically they fix the vulnerability for it. They get the SaaS results and they fix the vulnerability. That's perfect, right? But I was also asking this for them, like, okay, do you help also developers to learn to don't create? And it was interesting answer, like, maybe not. Maybe the developers will never learn. They'll keep creating vulnerabilities. Part of their job is like this, and we'll be there to fix. I, I agree, not agree. It's the same with doctors, right? We can eat healthy, but there will be point in life that we will all be sick, old. We need doctors, right? So
Yeah,
I'm still accepting this.
and it's also important to note, even if you get developers, especially with SEA, right? Even if the developer is doing everything and checking all the vulnerabilities in every package that he imports, a new CVE can come out, and then you have risk, and you need to make sure you're continuously monitoring for the risk. So it's always going to be, you can educate, but it's always going to be a risk. You're always
Yeah.
going to be, monitoring and seeing that everything's up to date. Even software that's already deployed, you want to keep monitoring that no new risk is coming in.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Maybe one more question, and we can go to the end. I remember once I was working in a company. We were kind of doing kind of SOAR. Like I was checking the AWS APIs. If someone created a EC2, for example, open to the internet, then my script was just alerting and changing the security group. Like simple things. Do you guys also have things like this in mind? For example, you have a code scan that you detect something, and they will not fix today, and it's okay. They don't have capacity, time, whatever, or they don't know how to fix, or just don't want to. And then you could automatically create a WAF rule or the runtime rule that would okay, I know that I have a SQL injection here on the code. I will not fix this. But how can I mitigate this using the other capabilities that I have as a WAF, as a rules, as a, I don't know, or it's as you said, you are monitoring the application, so you know that the SQL injection is a path that nobody's using, so you could even shut down this specific service. I don't know, this kind of things. Do you have this in mind, or not, or and how do you see this?
So it's definitely it's definitely a great capability to have, because you can't fix all of the vulnerabilities, and you have existing controls already that you have on your environment and your organization that you can utilize in order to protect from other vulnerabilities. So this is something that like we tackle it a bit differently in our product, and the way we see it is that we want that as an AppSec vendor, provide all of the information needed to understand the exact impact of each issue, and even understand how a chain of vulnerabilities can be stacked together in order to understand the exploitation path. And then the way we're looking at is that vendors that have these trains of understanding all of the controls that you have can fetch this information and then understand how exactly you want, where you want to turn it on, whether you need to turn it on, and so on and so forth.
Okay, good point. You think also, I mean, I think also because now I kind of deal directly with the CISO and other management, and they always want KPIs, dashboards, informations. It's part of their life, right? As an AppSec, I need transaction information, and they need more executive data, right? Maybe how many threats we have monthly, yearly, or how many threats we are fixing or not fixing, or how many threats are actionable, not actionable, whatever. How you guys approach this? I see a lot of ASPMs on the market doing a very good job. We recorded with guys from Apiro, I think. We talked with guys from Enso Security. I think they got bought by Sneak. Pretty nice solutions that are integrating a lot of things. How you guys see this KPIs, executive management, data, information? The tool is for them as well. They can benefit from this, or we need to extract this information. You mentioned APIs, so I believe that I can get all this data there. But how do you guys see this to the audience? How you would recommend or
Yeah, so it's very important. So in terms of like from an executive view, you need to understand like how the your organization progresses, where the problems are, whether the application security program works or you need to improve it. So everything in our platform is exportable. So you're able like to take all of the information and create any reports that you like. We of course have our reports that cover like the main use cases, and you can export all of them like on a monthly basis, and we send those to the CISOs actively to provide them the information they need. But we believe that any organization have slightly different requests upon that. So we're making sure that everything is exportable and also in a variety of different formats in order to be able to customize it and create the reports that you specifically need.
yeah, I have the same issue. Every day is a new report, and no solution can cover that, right? It's impossible to escape. It's the same as vulnerabilities. You cannot cover everything, right?
Of course.
It's tricky, I would say. Okay, guys, I think we are. I mean, we are on the time. We have some time. Do you want to add something? Bring something that I might not ask. How do you see? Or can I bring one more question? How do you see this?
Yeah, go ahead and ask. No worries.
Okay, maybe one last point would be from your personal experience. If ever developer could have one skill in one word, what skill that would be? What do you think?
Skill for developers, you're asking?
Yes, yeah.
I think it's programming without bugs. That would be my skill.
You are even more optimistic regarding my dream, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
you, Pavel?
I think patience. Then something is not working. Just take a deep breath and you will solve it.
Oh, okay. That's a nice one. I need this one. As a father, as husband, I need patience all the time. Okay, good. And if you had the, let's imagine if you have the power to solve all the company's problems everywhere in the world, but you can use only one tool or strategy, methodology, whatever. What do you think would be like SAST, SCA, runtime? I don't know, threat modeling. What you would do to everybody to be secure? Only one thing.
Mm. That's a
And
tough one.
and you can say
I
use
think,
Kodem security.
yeah, obviously use Kodem, but I think that at the end of the day, and this is where we're trying to go at is building a platform that combines all these tools, into one place that will give you, if we're talking about application security, it'll give you one place where you solve all your application security problems and try to consolidate that because there are a lot of tools today, right? And to be frank, to answer your question, I don't think that one tool is enough to solve all these issues. So I think building a platform that combines these capabilities is what you need to keep your company or your application in this case secure. And this is what we're going for, right? To build a place to help you prioritize and then help you bring all these values of SCA, SaaS, and also like infrastructure and secrets, everything built into one platform, and then have that protect you the best way possible.
Okay, fair enough. Pavel?
I think that the only way to keep things secure, like 100% secure, is just preventing developers developing code.
Touch the code.
Just kidding. But yeah, I agree with Idan that you have to have a combination of many scanners and being able to cover many niches and make sure that you provide accurate and actionable insights, because any solution that only focuses on something specific will have gaps, will have coverage problems. So security problem is tough, and you will have to have a well coverage suit to make sure that you are really secure.
Yeah, I would add to this. I always compare our AppSec world with the real life doctor stuff. I remember first time I had kidney stone. The doctor said, "Oh, we need to do ultrasonography," and there was nothing on the ultrasonography because the stone was too small. And then the other doctor said, "Oh, we need to do, I think in English is resonance, electro resonance, something like this." And then there was able to see. So in one first scanning, I was screaming pain, so I know the problem that I had, but they were not able to detect. But in another scan, more deep scan, let's say more detailed, it was able to detect, and I had surgery and so on. And I would say that AppSec is the same, right? We have different tools, different solutions, different approach to see different problems as well. You might, as you said, in the runtime, maybe it's the very good way because you know the whole behavior of the application. It's running already, right? But you also have the SCA, SaaS, the threat modeling stuff, like requirement stuff, things that we can care before the whole cycle starts. Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you for your time. You want to send one last message, send kisses, hugs to someone?
No, just say it was a pleasure to be here, Casio, on the podcast, and hopefully everybody learns and keeps their code more secure, and that's it.
Sure. Pavel, last message.
Yeah, pleasure to be here, and let's keep the world safe. That's the main.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining me as well. This is Casio Pereira for DevSecOps Podcast, 5th season. I don't know. We are in the episode 14, maybe 15 on the season. More to come. And I can announce, actually, I need to give kind of a spoiler, that finally we're going to have a psychologist on next episodes to try to understand why developers are so afraid of vulnerabilities, why everything is false positive, why they don't want to fix, why they are defensive. So keep in touch. Still July, we're going to have this episode finally after 5 years of this episode. Finally, one psychologist working in cybersec. So let's see what's going to come up there. Guys, again, thank you one more time. It was a pleasure to have you here. See you next week, folks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
That was DevSecOps, your cybersecurity in technology podcast. DevSecOps, finishing now.